1380 KCIM Sports presents KCIM Sports Rewind. A look back at the week in high school sports. Brought to you by St. Anthony Rehab Services. Here's Sports Director Jeff Blankman, John Ryan, and Jeff Honnold.
Very special guest in here for KCIM Sports Rewind. And no, Honnold, I'm not talking about you this week.
I'm here.
I know, you're back. So, back from the fishing adventure. Well, how was that?
It was nice. I caught.
There's still some fish in the lake, I assume.
Well, you saw the first picture that I caught, the biggest one. You know, it was monster, but it was not out. It wasn't in the slots. We were able to keep my little walleye. But I got a 23-incher with about over 4 pounds.
Not too bad.
So it was a nice one. And then I let a little kid outfish me on 4th of July. He caught a bass, and I watched fish nibble off the top of my worm.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
That's about right.
And that 23-incher, he misread it. It was actually a 2.3-incher.
I'm gonna leave that comment alone.
By the way, I heard I did have enough hands, so I had one rod in one hand. Yes, I was still okay, Mike.
All right, we're going to bring in our special guest, the real reason that we're actually here this morning. Joining us this morning, Blaze Gunnerson with the Kemper Knights, of course, making his college decision. Blaze, I remember talking to you a couple of months ago, and you were kind of pretty calm about it back then. You had your kind of college choices narrowed down. How intense did it get, and what was the final factor that made you choose Jeff Blankman's University of Nebraska?
Oh, man.
Yeah, so I'm assuming Jeff was a little happy about that. But as far as like the stress level throughout the process, it was pretty light at first. I wasn't taking it, too serious. I was obviously taking it seriously, but as it got down to the summer where I kind of knew I wanted to make a decision before football, I kind of had a 2 or 3 week stretch where it was a lot of thinking, a little bit of stress, to be honest with you. I took my official visits to both Iowa State and Nebraska. That's kind of who I wound it down to at that time. And after that, it was just a lot of thinking. And eventually, I just knew that Nebraska was the right place for me because I feel like they will develop me into the best player that I can possibly become.
Blaze, now that the decision is over, how much weight do you feel like's been lifted off your shoulders? How much does it stress you out, especially those last couple of weeks?
Yeah, so the weight lifted off my shoulders is like 10,000 pounds coming off, to be honest with you. It's a lot less thinking. I can just live life like a normal person. You don't have all these coaches texting you all the time. Okay, you kind of get back to the normal. You kind of
Did it stop right away?
The coaches?
Yeah, once you committed?
Not necessarily. I would say the Iowa State coaches honestly still text me a little bit, but my recruitment's completely shut down. Like, I'm going to Nebraska. I'm not planning on decommitting. I'm just like, that was my goal, is just once I find out, I'm going to be a hard Husker, and I'm going to try to get other guys there.
So when you talked about it, do you think that the defensive style fits more of what you are? Is that what made you the most comfortable?
Yeah, so the defensive styles were honestly a little similar. A lot of people get like skeptical about the fact that Nebraska is an outside linebacker, blah, 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 but it's really just a stand-up defensive end, if I'm going to be honest with you. It's so I went to camp there, and I kind of felt it out just to get the feeling for it. And I felt really good out of the stand-up position. I honestly thought I played better out of it than when I'm down. And I also did a pretty good job dropping into coverage and stuff. So I felt really comfortable about my position at Nebraska.
Now, if you've got a question for Blaze, by the way, we're live streaming on the internet right now on our Facebook page. So if you have a question for Blaze, you can just type it in on there, and we'll ask him it for you.
I already asked why, and could you really seriously get that shirt off? So those 2 questions are gone.
I had to rep it today.
Yeah, we did say that he's the first person to wear a Nebraska shirt other than not named Jeff Blankman here in the studio. So props on that, I guess.
Oh, gosh.
You had, Matt Campbell and Scott Frost. Mm-hmm. 2 coaches, 2 young guys.
Yeah.
How similar were the programs, and was that a big factor for you?
Oh, yeah. So both the coaching staffs, as you said, Matt Campbell and Scott Frost, both super genuine guys. All their coaching staff, super supportive.
But they're young, too.
Yeah. Young guys on the rise, both programs on the rise. And they'll never, tell you a falsehood in the recruiting process. They're going to be honest with you. So that was really awesome to have. I never wanted a program that was going to do that. And so that's what made the decision so hard, because the coaching staffs were so similar. I just kind of saw that Nebraska had the most possibility of success for me.
Blaze, you mentioned here a moment ago going to the camps. I read a story about you here a couple of weeks ago in one of the Nebraska newspapers, and they said that they thought that the thing that was really interesting was how coachable you were. That one camp you were at here just a few weeks ago on that Friday night, the Friday nights camp. They talked about, you'd go out and run a drill, and one of the coaches would come over and maybe tell you a way that you could do it differently. And the next time you'd go out, you'd execute it perfectly, exactly the way they told you. They said you were a sponge. Is that something that you take pride in? And how have you gotten yourself to be able to do that, to be able to adjust that quickly?
Yeah, so I think being a coachable kid is really very important to a kid's success, honestly, because Coach Shenandro and I was down there. We did an individual session before we went to the one-on-ones, and I learned so much. And he did a really good job just teaching me up, and I got a really good feel for the reps when I was just going against the dummies. And those individual reps really went over to the one-on-one reps. I really felt them. I did all the same moves and stuff, so it felt really good.
As an outsider perspective, and I know Blankman saw this too, Jeff, he said that every article that Nebraska wrote about recruiting had your name in every article. You were the top of their list. Did you feel that same way at Iowa State? I mean, I didn't hear as much from Iowa State, I guess, but Nebraska, I mean, they were really hard after you.
Yeah, so I had a really good camp at Nebraska, and I don't think there was many other top guys, let's say, at that camp. So I think a lot of the attention was focused on me, and I played really good that day. But the media at Nebraska is a lot bigger than at Iowa State, so that's why you probably saw that happening.
Now, Blaze, I'm going to bring up a name, and I don't know if you've heard it. You maybe saw the name on the walls, but watching the videos of you and stuff, you remind me of Grant Windstrom, former St. Louis Ram, Nebraska Cornhusker, with the energy you play with. Did any of the coaches kind of mention that too? Because he played in that Scott Frost era back in the 90s.
Yeah, so they've compared me to a lot of guys. Grant Windstrom was one of them for sure. I've actually met him before. Great dude, great to talk to, great mentor. And then Trev Alberts was another guy that they compared me to.
Cedar Falls guy.
Yeah, so really just an honor to be compared to those guys.
Well, the good news for you is you've had probably the biggest decision of your young life. The rest of them should be a lot easier from here on out. You've kind of got the process down. Talk to me a little bit about what you're looking for in Nebraska as far as how much more weight you want to put on. Are you looking for more speed? What are you going from here on out?
Yeah, so as you said, it's really nice to have that decision over with. A lot of stress removed. But as far as when I get there, so I'm like 255 pounds right now. I want to get this to all lean muscle. I want to get more muscle in my legs especially. And then probably go up 10 to 15 pounds of just pure lean muscle where I get faster with that muscle, and that would be the main goal.
Talk about the facilities you've got to work with in Nebraska. Are they just like head and shoulders above what you've seen in other places?
Yeah, they're really nice. Obviously, these other programs, I mean, there's not much difference between them all. But Nebraska's are super nice. I love their players' lounge. They got a basketball hoop in there that you can play on. They got everything you could ask for. So indoor, I love their indoor too. Their indoor is pretty sweet. So and obviously Memorial Stadium, you're not going to get better than that.
Talk to me a little bit about those facilities. So, Iowa State has their indoor, Iowa has their indoor. You got to see just about everybody's facilities, weight rooms. Talk about the similarities and the difference between all three of those schools.
Yeah, so like I said, they're pretty similar. Iowa State's they're remodeling theirs right now. I'm assuming that's going to be really nice. And then Nebraska's, the weight room's pretty nice. I know they're going to keep making renovations to all that stuff. And then they're pretty comparable. I think the school that I visited that kind of stood out with the facilities was Minnesota. Like, those were just insane. They finished it last January and they were just nuts. So, but that's not what I was only what I was looking for in this recruiting process. Facilities matter, but it's not a big thing.
Education probably a part of this decision as well. Talk about that and how much that played into the role.
Yeah, so I'm not quite sure my major yet, but I'm pretty interested in business, and they took me on a little visit to their business school, and it's this sweet all glass building, really big. Love the classroom size, love the style, and they have millions of options of majors I can possibly go into. So I felt pretty comfortable going there, and they also have a really good average team GPA, so I was excited to see that.
You mentioned Minnesota. Talk about how crazy that guy is. Is he full of energy all the time?
Yeah, so PJ Fleck, I personally can't say anything negative about him. I really liked him when I met him. My whole family liked him. He seemed like a great guy, and with recruits that I've met on these visits, they're great kids, and they're committing there, so I have respect for that program. and like he is a ball of energy. Like he's wired differently. Let's just say that.
Talk about your family, what role they had in any of this. Are they happy it's over? And did you make this decision on your own?
Not quite on my own. So my mom, she helped a lot. She talked to coaches all the time, and so did my dad, obviously. And so that helped a lot. And then so as we went out throughout the process, they kind of guided me along. Let's just say that. And then I kind of did try to make it on my own. And then I told my parents what I was thinking, and so I told them Nebraska. And both of them agreed. They both thought that was the correct decision for me, and they thought that Nebraska was going to make me the best version of myself.
Two questions here in one. One, your family's kind of an Iowa State family, so how hard was that for them to say that Nebraska was the place for you to go? And then number two, you mentioned, you meet a lot of different recruits at all these different places you go. You get to go to games, you hang out with them, you go to camps, you hang out with them. What kind of friendships do you build with guys maybe all over the country during this recruiting process?
Yeah, so to your first question about my family, like, this was really cool because they were also really supportive of me. They understood that both Scott Frost and Matt Campbell had great programs going on. And obviously they want to see me to the Cyclones. Like, I know that. But that didn't quite work out. And when I told them all, I called all my brothers, my parents personally, and they all freaked out, super happy for me. So that was just good to hear. And about the friendships that you build throughout this process, it's honestly, it's so nice to meet other kids that are in the same situation as you. You don't feel alone in this process. And, like, I was on my Nebraska visit. I met Turner Corcoran and Xavier Watts. And, like, those two dudes I got along with so well. I talk to them every day now. And so you build lifelong friendships on this journey. And, like, I have probably 10 or more Iowa State friends with their current players and then commits. Like, it's just really cool.
Yeah, every recruiting class kind of has a core, a nucleus to it. You feel like you're on kind of inside that nucleus right now with some of those guys you mentioned?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Me and Turner are really tight. We're trying to bring a lot of guys in, so me and Turner are neck and neck right now.
So let me ask you this, and maybe you don't want to say names, but you've said a couple of times, and I know Turner's recruiting for Nebraska now too. Who are some of the guys that you're trying to get there, if you want to tell us?
I'm not sure, like, the specific names, honestly. I was just talking to this Nixon wide receiver out of Texas, and he actually committed yesterday, so that was really nice. But I'm talking to a couple other linebackers right now, some interior guys that I'm trying to get. So, yeah, well, that's kind of the goal right now.
So how fast, and maybe you can someday you can have as many as Blankman, how fast did your closet fill up with Nebraska shirts? And will you ever wear an Iowa State or Iowa shirt ever again?
Oh, yeah, so I'm going to still wear Iowa State gear. I have a ton. I'm still a fan of Iowa State. But as far as Nebraska gear, I've got about 3 shirts, a hat already, and then we're ordering more constantly. So I'm trying to fill up the wardrobe right now.
All right, Blankman, how many do you have?
I probably got 100 and some.
Wow. Easily.
Between short sleeve shirts and long sleeve stuff.
Easily.
Yeah.
Can I have some?
Yeah. I don't know if they'll fit.
Yeah, we'll stretch them out.
Have you seen his basement?
No, I haven't.
You're going to need to go down and see his basement.
Oh,
he's
gosh.
got the skull and the bones on the wall, and he's got the end, and and he's even got the field on the carpet and the ground. It's
talk about that culture, the black shirts on the defensive side of things. You got to buy into that all the way.
Oh man, I love it. So I'm gonna be throwing the bones, when I get a sack down there. It's gonna be a lot of fun. It's cool to be called a black shirt. And when I went to camp down there, they gave me this black tight shirt, so it's kind of cool,
Mm-hmm.
I do have to ask, you're here talking with us today. I know your phone, John mentioned earlier, coaches kind of maybe stopped texting you. How bad did it get media-wise with all the writers, radio people, TV people when you announced, nationally and locally in the state of Nebraska as far as getting interviews and everything over this last week?
Yeah, so my goal was, the media was actually really nice to me about it. I actually did 3 interviews before I officially announced my commitment, because my main goal was just to get interviews with, like, the main Nebraska sports writers, and then after I announced my commitment, go off my phone all night. And that's kind of what I did. And so, because I knew it was going to blow up because the fans down there are crazy. So that's what I did, and that's what kind of kept the stress level minimal.
Now, we've been talking about this all. You're going to be at Nebraska, but you still got a season to go at Kemper.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about your teammates. Are they excited for you? And what's it like? You still got a year to go at Kemper.
Oh, man, I'm so excited. I get goosebumps just thinking about our first game. we've been working really hard in the weight room. I cannot wait to see what we put together once camp starts up, and we're doing a great job. We got 7-on-7 tonight. Workouts are going great. I love the guys that I have with me, and I'm super excited to see what we're gonna do. I can't wait. I can't wait to get on that field.
Okay, we're in a new
I
era.
really
here.
feel sorry for the opponents right now. I'm just telling you.
I'm thinking quadruple team. We're in this era of social media. What does Nebraska have in place? I'm sure they coached you on it, but once you are on campus, do they change your rules on social media then?
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure you get Twitter and all that stuff. So I think Iowa takes away Twitter, but I think all that stuff stays the same. But like they give you an iPad to watch film on. They give you a MacBook for school, and then they have a bunch of technology within their weight room program, which I was super impressed with. Their technology within there is like the most impressive of what I've seen.
Yeah, it's got to be an intense just atmosphere that you're being looked at by all those Nebraska fans out there. So you've got to keep in the back of your mind, I've got to be careful about what I say and what I do.
You got to be smart. Everything's going to be magnified, and I don't think I'll have a problem with that personally because I'm not like that. And so I think, I mean, obviously it's a change for some people, but I think that'll be fine for me.
I'm drawing a blank on his name right now. Their outstanding weightlifting coordinator, their strength and conditioning guy. Duvall, yeah.
Zachary Duvall.
Yeah. I'm shocked you didn't know that.
I know, I usually do, but for some reason it was slipping my mind. But
that's it. Take away 10 T-shirts.
You probably know the assistant.
Yeah.
Who's the women's bowling coach? Tell us that.
I do know that. But anyways, have you had a chance to sit down really and talk with him about what kind of things that they want to do with your body?
Yeah, so I've went there twice with both parents, sets of parents for me, and each time he gave me an hour probably an hour 30-minute presentation about what they're gonna do to me. And first thing they did was measure my body. So I took my shirt off. He measures my width of my shoulders, all that type of stuff, body fat percentage, and they kind of get the feel for what they want to do with you right then and there. And then obviously my body's still gonna develop. But once we sat down, he had a presentation about Khalil Mack because he actually was the one who developed Khalil Mack at Buffalo, and that's just crazy to me because I always watched Khalil Mack film when he was on the Raiders and obviously the Bears now, and the dude's just a dog. And so it's good to know that Duvall trained him up, and then he just goes on to talk about the technology, how they track you and all that stuff, how they make changes to your training based on what your body's telling them through the sensors. And then also on the field, they have sensors in your helmet and stuff on your chest to see if you're being overworked or not. So it's good to know that they have a safety aspect of it too.
Some kids go early. I've seen them go as early as December. Some kids enroll in summer classes, so they go early. Any plans? Are you going to try to go early, or are you going to just kind of wait for that fall term to come in, or what's your plans for there?
Yeah, so I'm taking a summer class right now just to give me the option to graduate early or not. I haven't quite decided yet. I'm kind of taking a couple weeks off of the thinking aspect, but I'm leaning either way. It's 50-50 right now, so I could be going as early as December, like you said, or later on.
It's a pretty exciting time going on. Are you looking forward to anything as part of the season, like stadiums you're going to play at, like Iowa or any other place in the Big Ten? I mean, it's got to just the excitement level's got to be a 12 on a scale of 1 to 10.
Oh yeah, the stadiums I'm gonna be able to play in will be honestly just a privilege. It'll be awesome. So Kinnick, those night games, it's crazy there. I want to go in there and beat the Hawks.
So you're lucky. We used to have season tickets 2 rows up on your side. So I would have made at Iowa. I'd have made your life miserable, but those are no longer there. So you're safe. I won't be able to get on you. Jeff Weber was actually affected 2 or 3 games by yelling at kickers. So it's just going to be neat to be able to watch you and all the other. Now we'll have to root against you when you're Iowa, but that's okay. But other than that, I think it's going to be really cool to be able to see you on the field in the Big Ten, and especially when you're tearing up Michigan and Ohio State.
Yes, sir.
We'll definitely be helping you there somehow.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it'll be cool. I know I have a great supporting fan base here at Carroll, so that's really good to know. It was also kind of nice that Sam Brinks kind of went before me and did this all. So I kind of have him as a mentor.
I was going to ask you about that. Have you talked to Sam? You guys were a little bit apart in school, so I don't know how much you talked to each other.
Yeah, so me and Sam are lifelong friends. He came over to my house when I was 10 years old, He played with my brothers Alex and Austin all the time because they just hung out, you know. He gave me crap all the time, and it's just kind of cool. So we had 7-on-7 Tuesday when I committed, and he was actually there after, and I talked to him. So that was just really cool. He sent me a text and stuff. So he's been really supportive about all this.
Really cool stuff going on. So congratulations on all of it. I guess, like I said, it feels like 1,000 pounds off your back, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's awesome. Good to have Oval with. I'm excited for the Kemper football season. That's what I'm looking forward to most right now.
Well, congratulations on making the decision. And no matter where you went, I'm glad that for you it's over.
Everybody I've talked to, it's going to be Nebraska, but I was like, well, hold on.
Yeah, I think the smile stayed through Friday for sure.
That's awesome. I love it.
It hasn't gone away yet.
Can't wait to see you out there in Memorial Field. Blaise Gunnerson, congratulations. Enjoy the year. We'll catch up with you throughout the year.
Injuries can plague kids of all ages and keep them from playing the sport they love. Athletes will be under the direct supervision of a certified and licensed healthcare professional in the newly renovated Sports Performance Facility. If an injury is keeping your athlete out of the game, call St. Anthony Rehabilitation Services at 794-5000 for sports injury and treatment rehab.
Looking for future leaders we can believe in? Look no further than the high school student athletes right here in Iowa. High school sports teach young people how to be effective leaders. It includes learning to listen, accepting responsibility, being a good role model, and it's about respect. The result, it transcends sports. It gives us hope for the future. This message presented by the Iowa High School Athletic Association and the Iowa High School Athletic Directors Association.
As the athletes at your house prepare for hard work and fun of the season.
Welcome back, KCIM Sports Rewind. Our thanks to Blaise Gunnerson making some time for us here. Jeff, we had a chance to talk with him a while ago when the recruiting process was going on.
Yeah.
Back when the schools were limited about 5 or 6 of different ones.
Right.
But you kind of thought maybe Nebraska had the inside track even at that point.
Yeah, at least from what I read and listen to all the time with Nebraska stuff. The only thing is every player they're recruiting, according to their media people, a lot of times they're the number one
Those
choice,
media
and that's
people.
where they're going to end up going. So it's tough to know. But the thing that kind of swung me thinking that's where he was going was a lot of the Kemper people, classmates, teammates, stuff like that, were saying that they thought he was leaning to Nebraska. So that's kind of what got me thinking that Nebraska would end up being where he would go.
I think it's just a great fit with the 2 young coaches that he was down to was of course Iowa State and Nebraska, but what a great fit. Scott Frost has definitely brought the excitement back and the recruiting back to Nebraska.
Yes.
Well,
Absolutely.
and it feels right defensively for him. He's such a strong speed guy, and that really, if you watch the Scott Frost defenses, it's built on pure speed, and it just feels like a really good fit for him.
Yeah, absolutely. He's going to be able to drop and cover because he's athletic enough to be able to do that. He's going to be able to put pressure on the quarterback. He'll be solid in the run game as well because he's already strong, and he's going to get just stronger down there. So,
And what a great, well-rounded kid.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, fun young man.
As about a respectful young man as you're going to find. Yeah, really, he's got a good head on his shoulders for all the attention that he's been getting for the last year.
Yeah, of all the stories you hear, the good guys do get the breaks they deserve.
Absolutely.
Out there. So,
and he's worked hard for it, that's for sure.
absolutely, we do. We're going to talk playoffs here. We're going to take another quick break. We'll be right back. More.
Slow down, slow down, slow down, slow down. You need to slow down, slow down. You need to slow down.
For any sports injury that may sideline your member of the team. Sports injuries can plague kids of all ages and keep them from playing the sport they love. Athletes will be under the direct supervision of a certified and licensed healthcare professional in the newly renovated Sports Performance Facility. If an injury is keeping your athlete out of the game, call St. Anthony Rehabilitation Services at 794-5000 for sports injury and treatment rehab.
KCIM Sports Rewind. Let's talk some of the softball postseason, as we'll call it here.
Regional play. There you go.
All right, then we'll call
Fun
it that.
hater.
Nah, just your fun is all I hate. It's not not everybody's fun. It's just yours. Let's talk about the playoffs last night. Of course, East Sac County was in action. I had a chance to see them last night. 8-0 over Pocahontas. Carol Wilkins, her senior go-around, she struck out 8 last night, including the final batter on her senior season on her home field. And that's what's one of the goals that she had going in. She got that done last night. But East Sac County put single runs in. It seemed like they had the bases loaded every single inning. Couldn't get that big inning going. They'd get one in 3 other innings and finally broke through with a big 3-run double off the bat of, I believe, was Macy Gustafson, first baseman. And then follow-up triple by Josie Bontrager that really broke the game wide open. 8-0, they go on to cruise past Pocahontas, a team they'd already beaten twice this year.
Yeah, and it's not easy to beat a team 3 times in a season. You hear people say that all the time. So
and Pokey did something a little different last night. They put 5 girls on the infield, only 2 outfielders, and that wound up burning them late with the big hits. They were just gambling that they were going to be able to get a ball on the ground.
Yeah, and you know, sometimes when you're not favored to win, you try some different things, but you know, teams do adjust, and it sounds like that's what ESAC was able to do last night and kind of found those open holes late in the game.
Just waited for the big hit to happen. It didn't happen until the bottom of the 6th, but when it did, they took advantage of it. So.
And ESAC, a young team, you know, just a couple of seniors there with Kara and stuff, and so the future looking pretty good for them.
Yep, Carol Wilkins finished up with 8 strikeouts last night, just a couple of walks on the game.
You bet, and they'll head up to Emmetsburg for their next round coming up on Wednesday night. That'll be a 7 o'clock game. Jeff, you were down in Coon. Kind of a tough night for the Crusaders.
Well, again, another one of those where Coon Rapids Bayard had beat them twice already.
Yep.
Conference foe. Cora McAllister pitched a great game. Only gave up 5 hits. Unfortunately, 2 of them were in the first inning. They got a base hit, and then she hit a girl, struck out the number 3 hitter, but the cleanup hitter came up, and Cora actually made a nice pitch. It was up and in. But they knew the girl had power, and she just turned and tomahawked it, and it hit the top of the fence and rolled over for a home run. So a 3-run home run, and that was the game. I mean, Helen Rikers, the pitcher for Caminita, faced the minimum through 3. They got a little bit of traffic in the 4th and the 5th, just couldn't string enough hits together. Finally, Alexa Culbertson got a base hit in the 7th to score a run, but they'd given up an unearned run in there. So 4-1, but a great pitch game. Just the bats could not come alive and just cost Coon Rapids Bayard that game.
Yeah, absolutely. So their season comes to an end. The other teams in that region last night, I was down at Kimballton with the Audubon. They played well last night, got beat 8-2, gave up 5 runs in the 2nd inning, hit by pitch, a walk, and then an error, and that coming with 2 outs, kind of the difference. It kind of landslided on them for just a couple of minutes, but they settled in after that. Erlmeyer pitched really well, I thought, for him last night. Couldn't quite get the bats going against Macy Emgarten from Exiro. Gordon Kimballton had 1 hit through about 5 innings last night. Got the bats going a little bit late, but gave up 3 in the 6th to fall down 8-0. Rallied back to cut it to an 8-2 game, but a good season for them, losing 3 seniors. They've got some really good young talent down there. Coach Borkowski was pretty emotional at the end of the game last night to lose 3 really good kids as seniors, but I think he likes what he's got coming back, and I think the future for them is going to be much better. The other area teams, Glidden Ralston, they've just been kind of beat up with injuries all year long. Struggled last night over there against Woodbine, fell down early, ended up losing 16-4 in 3 innings. So this was a team that came into the year with some really high hopes. Things just didn't work out. Again, injuries to the pitching staff. Talia Schoen had to throw hurt most of the year and wasn't probably as strong or as effective as what she would have been if she'd have been healthy. Their backup pitcher, Morgan Kaler, really was down as far as pitching early in the year and didn't get to throw the rest of the year. So they had to, and last night they ended up having to throw some people that really hadn't pitched just to be able to get through the game.
A couple of other teams moved on, but the game of the night was Arweva, Council Bluffs St. Albert.
Yeah, absolutely. And a quick shout out to the senior Emily Hinders. What a way to keep your team going. 2 3-run home runs last night in the game, including one late that gave them a lead. They ended up holding on for a 9-8 victory down at St. Albert last night. So
she was playing home run derby last night.
Yeah, she was. Absolutely, yeah. And,
8 RBIs, I think.
Yeah, 6. Yep, 6
Wow.
RBI, yeah. Had a double to go through with those 2 3-run home runs. Ended up 3 for 4 on the night. I know I was talking through text message with Coach Fitch after the game, and she's like, yeah, wouldn't have been for Emily, we wouldn't have gotten the win tonight. So senior stepping up big in a key situation.
And IKM Manning rolling to a nice win last night.
Yeah, they came in pretty heavily favored last night. They cruised 12-2, ended that one early. You knew that they probably wouldn't have a lot of trouble. I think Tri-Center came in at giving up about 18 runs a game or something like that. So you knew that Ike and Manning would have a chance to put the bat on the ball and score some runs, and they were able to do that last night. And it's a good young team. They're down a little bit from last year, but as we mentioned last week, when you got Joy Gross in your dugout, you never count a team out. So
Absolutely.
They'll head up to West Monona coming up on tomorrow night for their next round game. West Monona going to be a pretty tough opponent.
You know, I was happy to see John here today after his long drive and that tough. I thought maybe you were going to have to take a vacation. It kind of pulled you out of retirement on the games.
I'd stop, get out, stretch my legs in between Wall Lake and Lakeview. You know, it's a long drive.
Did you remember how to keep book? It's been a while since you've had to do that. You're kind of getting out of practice on us.
Go take a look. You will not be able to read it at all. There's not.
That's
nothing
why I
will make
didn't
sense.
ask you to send me a picture last night. Yeah,
it's in my shorthand, and it's pretty bad.
Did I see at the Merchant game the other night?
Yeah.
I see it. I gave him a little shout. I thought maybe he'd sneak over and keep book for me. But
I had to leave, though. It was getting a little chilly. The heat index was down to 107. So at that point, I thought, well, I didn't bring my sweater, so I better leave.
Those 18 to 15 games are a little long.
Hey, I usually have a hoodie in the station
I know you
vehicle
do.
if you need one. So.
Let's set up the playoff action for Wednesday night. Of course, we'll be back with more playoff action then. Our Weeva is going to be at West Harrison. Also, IKM Manning at West Monona. East Sac is going to be at Emmetsburg. We'll have 3 broadcast games next Wednesday. South Central Calhoun, Jeff Honnold, you're going to be up there in Lytton for that one. Manson Northwest Webster going to be the opponent there. And Carroll and Kemper going to be in action, both of them on the road. Kemper is at Atlantic. Jeff Blankman with a call on that right here on KCIM. And then the Carroll Tigers at Southeast Valley. They'll head up to, I believe it's Gowrie, isn't it?
And they don't play in Gowrie. It's the next town to the east. I think it's Dayton, maybe?
Dayton, yeah.
Dayton.
In
So,
Dayton.
yeah.
They'll take on Southeast Valley, 7 o'clock, and Nick Brinks will have the call on that one for you. So that's our next round of playoffs coming up on Wednesday night. So.
Yeah, we made the switch on that one. It didn't make a lot of sense for Nick driving to Lytton and me going over there.
Yeah, I was going to have those two guys crisscrossing each other for some reason. Then I kind of opened my brain and thought for a moment.
Logistics not the strong point going on there.
Yes.
All right, that's a look at KCIM Sports Rewind for this week.
When you need to know, KCIM is the place to listen on 1380 AM and 95.1 FM. This is KCIM Carroll.